Oh, we did a quick video earlier of Nigel Farage resigning, standing in Clacton. That was really quick because it just came out. But I'm going to react to the entire speech. It's about 15 minutes long. And the reason why I want to react to it is because I need to take on a lot of the myths and lies he's peddling. So let's go through his entire speech. Let's see what he's got to say.
After several years out of politics, I decided to return to the front line. I have to say there was some reluctance, and initially I'd thought when Rishi Sunak called a snap election that it would be on me. But I did it. And I was very, very proud. That evening, going into the morning of July the 5th, 2024, to be the elected member for Clacton-on-Sea. I was very proud of that evening, and I have to say the last 2 years, I've really enjoyed the job of being an MP. People, the constituency, it's an office that I genuinely...
An office you genuinely adore, yet you're never at Clacton. You're never there. You are like one of the worst constituency MPs.
That night, we'd have rocketed to the top of the opinion polls, and now we'd be #1 for the last 305th opinion poll in a row, off big lead. We've also built the biggest membership of any political party. Of course, on May the 7th, just gone, we achieved some huge successes in the local election. Not only did we achieve breakthroughs in Scotland and in Wales, but we absolutely dominated in the Midlands and the North, old Labour heartlands.
Well, to be fair, in Wales, you failed to win.
Not to forget that in East Anglia, the Conservatives have now, by us, reduced to nothing more a rump. It seems to me that the establishment have now decided that they can't beat us fairly.
Okay, so he's going to mention this a lot, and when he says the establishment are against it, you are literally the establishment. Nigel Farage, ex-City banker, ex-Tory, has been in politics his entire life, has always been around money, okay, is the establishment. He was given £5 million from Christopher Harbin, a billionaire, and George Cottrell, he was financially backed by him. George Cottrell is an aristocrat, a literal aristocrat, and we're supposed to believe that Nigel Farage is anti-establishment. Of course, that is a load of crap. Absolute crap.
Let me be absolutely clear. After furore and the media pile on, well, not just the media, the other political party too. Let me be absolutely clear. I have done nothing wrong. I have not broken the law any way at all. I have not misused public money.
So, of course, question surrounding Farage is, did he break the law? Did he break parliamentary rules? It may be that he did, and it may be that he didn't. I actually do not give a shit if Farage has broken rules or not. What matters, and this is what the media don't really want to talk about, what matters is the corporate dominance in our politics. It's the multi-millionaires and billionaires using politicians like Farage as their puppets. So whilst the media will say all questions around Farage, whether he broke parliamentary rules, whether he declared income 12 months prior being an MP or not, I really don't care. Because when you focus just on the rules, you're not looking at the entire system, and that is how politics has been completely gamed. And that is how the media have framed this, by the way. They've asked Nigel Farage questions, they've individualised it, they've asked him about what he's going to personally do with the money, or whether he's broken the rules or not. Okay, fine, they're fair questions for the media to ask. But ultimately, the media won't ask the wider question, which is, why are you giving this money? And why do we have a system that allows someone like Farage to be basically bought and paid for? Because the media are owned by the same billionaires and they're all in the gravy train. So Farage can say what he wants about whether he broke no rules or not. I am not bothered about that. I don't care. But what people need to know, and the voters of Clacton really need to know, is rule breaking or not, you've got extremely wealthy individuals that is buying our politics and our politicians, and Nigel Farage is the most bought and paid for politician.
For the first 2 years of being an MP, my personal MP expenses are zero. Not, of course, that you'll read about that.
And that doesn't matter, because Rupert Lowe says he gives all of his wage to charity, and they try and say, well, look how virtuous we are. The reason why Nigel Farage doesn't need to claim expenses is because he's extremely rich, right? Now, of course, there was the entire expenses scandal, but what people need to know about MPs' expenses is a lot of it goes on staff, a lot of it goes on office. So if an MP has quite high expenses, it doesn't mean they've done anything really bad. It just means they've had to pay for people, and they can't personally pay for it. So Nigel Farage may have low expenses. It's because you have private donations from people like Christopher Harbin who can pay for it and make it look like you're clean. Rupert Lowe is an extremely wealthy individual, so he doesn't need to take a salary. Donald Trump, I mean, apparently he doesn't take a salary. Does that matter? Does that mean they're virtuous? No, it just means they're extremely rich.
And yes, of course, Parliament has its rules about how members ought to behave. And I believe I've absolutely obeyed those rules and done so under getting good legal advice. The standard rules are clear. This is what they say. The code applies to members in all aspects of their public life. It does not seek to regulate what members do in their purely personal lives. Now, it would seem from the last couple of years, from the way I've been treated, the press would rather our members of parliament had no assets and no wealth at all.
So basically, this is similar to what Robert Jenrick said to Camilla Tominey on GB News when she was like, why is he getting all these houses given to him? And then Robert Jenrick's like, oh, are you anti-owning houses? The people in the media are not against those owning assets, okay? But when it comes to politicians, expect scrutiny. If you're given free houses, right, you're literally given a house and you have 5 other houses. A lot of them have been paid by cash, by the way. No mortgage on it, right? Questions are going to be asked. It doesn't mean that you can't own a house. But again, this is Nigel Farage unable to accept any kind of scrutiny, and he's always deflecting. Now, it's a smart move because the wrong thing for a politician to do is apologize. But ultimately, these are like legit scandals. And he's trying to say, oh, you know what? We're not allowed to have assets. You can have whatever you want, but what matters is the money trail. And more interestingly, again, which the media probably won't talk about, is there could be criminal activity going on in terms of the money because lots of people like to stuff money in assets and then pass that asset onto someone else to stop the money trail. So there could be a money trail that links to criminal activity. That is why these questions are important. That is why these investigations are important. And that is why Nigel Farage is facing scrutiny. Not smears, not attacks, but scrutiny.
They fundamentally object to any MP that has outside income. Indeed, they view those that are continuing business interests with severe skepticism. Making money is not a crime. Now, going back to the 90s, I was in the commodity markets. I had a very...
By the way, it is actually important if people have a second job. Like, I don't think MPs should really have second K. But there's a reason why people question it. It's called the conflict of interest. So if you have a business and then you're a member of parliament, there's a reasonable, I don't know, expectation, possibly, that an MP might write rules that favour their business. So if you work in plumbing, for example, or have a plumbing business, an MP might be like, oh, I want to reduce regulation on plumbing because it might hinder their profits. Like, that's a conflict of interest. And that's questions people should be asking. Are you setting policy or supporting policy in support of ordinary people and your local constituents, or are you doing it for your own business and your own profit? So yes, people should be absolutely skeptical of business people going into politics because more often than not, they do it to write the rules to favour their business and their mates.
A very good, high-earning career. I gave that up at a huge cost. Being a member of the European Parliament 20 years cost me a huge amount of money, but I did it because I had a goal. I had a goal and a belief that we should leave the European Union, get back to being a self-regulating nation, makes its own laws, charts its own destiny.
Irony that he says self-regulating Britain. He hates regulation. He doesn't want regulation because he wants big business to get even richer. And this idea, this crazy idea that he keeps pushing, which is that, you know, I had so much money and I gave up so much personal ambition to be in politics. I'm such the savior. I've sacrificed so much. No, you've gained more by being in politics. Again, shall we bring up the £5 million gift from Christopher Harben? Would you have been given that if you weren't in politics? Absolutely not. So many people go into politics for the gravy train because they know, well, do you know what? I could be bought. Like, if you're a politician and you're an MP, you're going to be flooded with, I don't know, dinner, with tickets, with clothes, with events, with cash money, whatever it is. Like, it's easier to grift as an MP. So the idea that, well, he's given up so much because he believes in his principles is utter tosh, okay? How would he get these mansions and houses and stuff if he wasn't in politics? He wouldn't have.
Things, of course, control its own border. We might not yet, 10 years on, reap as many of the benefits as we ought, but one day I believe we will. And let's be frank, if I hadn't done what I'd done, there would have been no referendum, there would have been no Brexit.
True.
I came out at the end of that with very little money indeed. But over the last 10 years, I've been right.
Well, hold on a second. Hold on a second. He said, Nigel Farage, he was given a £5 million gift from Christopher Harben as a reward. Remember, he had 2 excuses. One, he said, I have to pay for security because I'm facing so much danger. Well, a couple of milkshakes, right? I mean, by the way, what he says in a minute about him being the most abused MP whilst you've had 2 dead MPs, 2 MP killed, it's disgraceful. But he said, I was given £5 million for security reasons. And then in the separate video with Harry Cole, he said, oh, I was given £5 million as a reward for Brexit. So we can't then say, well, I got Brexit done and I was financially broken because of it, when you yourself admitted that I was given a £5 million bonus for getting Brexit done. See, all his lies are not making up. It's not adding up.
I've been lectured, I've been broadcast, I've been invested, I promoted one or two financial products. For those that followed me into them, they've more than doubled their money, which I'm pleased about. I also worked extensively in those years of 2021 to 2024 as an influencer with over 7 million followers on social media. So yes.
Well, funny there. I mean, that's true. He is an influencer. He has a lot of social capital on social media. That's also thanks to George Cottrell, because one of the things that George Cottrell did for Nigel Farage was get him a social media person. And there was a lot of machinery and money that went behind Nigel Farage's social media profiles. So, I mean, you're kind of just admitting there that, yes, you have a big social media profile and an influencer thanks to Posh George.
Over the last 10 years, I have financially done well, but that of itself should not be looked upon as a crime. And yes, I had the equivalent
No one's saying it's a crime.
lottery win, a large personal gift, and I'll come to that and the details of that in just a second. The really big question that I want to pose is, do we want leaders that know how to make money? Do we want leaders that have run businesses, employed people, and understand how the world works? Well,
No, I argue no, actually. I want people in politics who have morals, who have a drive to make society better, and understand economics. Now, there's been stupid idea because of neoliberalism that those that know economics the best are business people, and those who are wealthy, they're the ones that know how society works and the economy works. That's not true, okay? Those that understand how the economy works are those that study the economy. Business people, they don't have extra knowledge in the economy. They just have a stake, and that stake is, I want my business to do well and I want more profit. Therefore, when they go into politics, they come from a certain perspective, the perspective of capital. You've got the ordinary working class like us from the perspective of labor. We want more working class people in politics because we have a society in which is geared towards the rich, and we need more working class people to give that working class perspective. So no, we don't want business people in politics. It's the same crap when people say, oh, do you know what? We need those that understand business and run the economy like a business. We absolutely do not. We've had 50 years of people saying we need to run the economy like a business. And all what's happened is we favored the business class and we favored the capitalist class and the oligarchs, and whilst the rest of us have been destroyed. So no, we need less people with business in politics. Those that want to make society better and understand the economy, yes, but not business people. So no, less of that.
I'm going to argue today, we absolutely need successful people from all walks of life, but particularly from business and industry. We need them not just in Parliament, we need them in government if we're even going to have half a chance of turning around the dire economic state this country now finds itself in. Contrast that with a cabinet, 24 men and women, not one of whom has any serious experience of private business, who frankly haven't got a clue. So don't be surprised that in economic terms, we are going down the drain.
Also, what experience does Nigel Farage have in business? I don't know if he's got many businesses. Does he employ many people? I mean, all he does is crypto scams, and he's been given money and houses and assets. Like, what business has he actually done? So I don't even know if he can say I'm business savvy, because where's his credentials?
Now, Standards investigating me over the gift has now reared its head again as a result of a lot of copy in this week's Sunday Times, incidentally written by a journalist who publicly says that he despises me. And despite the fact that many of the things
By the way, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Facts are facts. If a journalist doesn't like you, but if they're presenting facts, that's all that matters. Now, the Sunday Times, they have not just attacked Reform and Farage, they've attacked everyone. They've gone after Labour a bunch of times. The Sunday Times is a Murdoch paper, but sometimes they do some good investigative journalism. But this is Reform again saying like, oh my God, we're being held to account. What matters is facts. Now, I know that a lot of the work that went into the story has been worked on for months, if not years, but they had to sit on it and they couldn't publish it unless it was watertight because they were worried about the lawyers going after the writers and the journalists. So it's been in the works for a long time. They finally released it because they know they can't be done legally. So you know it's watertight. You know it's not smears or lies. It's proper journalism, and Farage has been found out.
Written in the article were wholly inaccurate or indeed irrelevant, yet
Prove
another
it.
Standards investigation is underway. Standards are now being used as a political tool. On the
It's not political. There's questions that need to be answered. And the £5 million donation, by the way, from Christopher Harbin is one thing. The George Cottrell stuff came out afterwards. So actually, there's more than one scandal, and there's probably going to be more.
Gift. It was given to me on an unconditional basis. I can do with that money exactly as I wish. But there is a much bigger reason why I'm going to need that money, and it's simply this. For over 20 years now, I have been subject to constant demonization by the press. For daring to be outside the consensual view on many issues, I've been attacked again and again. And I am the most physically...
Bro thinks he's Jeremy Corbyn, right? Jeremy Corbyn was smeared, right? The level of attacks and the type of attacks against Jeremy Corbyn were insane. And when you had an ex-Tory MP say that he was a Czech spy, you had someone else say that Corbyn might reopen the concentration camps, you had the entire anti-Semitism scandal. Like, there were tangible examples on which Corbyn wasn't scrutinised on policy. Now, you can't expect Jeremy Corbyn not to be scrutinised. Every politician should be. But most of it wasn't on policy or anything he'd really done. It was like, oh, he didn't bend far enough when he bowed. The attacks were crazy. Nigel Farage has big questions over him. These are not the same, right? He's not the most smeared person. No, don't get me wrong. Like, the media have attacked him a lot, but there's a lot to attack him on. It's just true. Like, he's such a dirty politician. Like, you can't expect there not to be any kind of smoke.
And verbally attack public figure or politician of modern time. Yes, you will know of some of the incidents.
David Amos, Joe Cox, all I need to say to
milkshakes thrown in my face, placards bashed over my head. But let me promise you,
and also Jeremy Corbyn, there was a plot to kill him in Finsbury Park. There was a terrorist plot to kill Jeremy Corbyn. So I don't give a fuck if a couple of milkshake and signs. Shut up.
Only know about a fraction of the number of times that I've been assaulted. One little example you've probably never heard of. It was a Sunday afternoon a few years ago in the local village pub. In come the mob, about 50 of them. We decided the safest thing to do was as quickly as possible to get into the car and to drive away. But the mob surrounded the car, banging on the bonnet and the windscreen, kicking the side of the doors. It was a genuinely dangerous and terrifying situation to be in.
This is just anecdotal evidence. Oh, this thing happened, okay? But I suppose, let's say that's true. 50 people did attack your car. Does that mean that we should stop asking questions about money? Of course not, but is that what you're saying? Oh, I've been attacked, so therefore, I can do whatever I want. No, sorry. You don't get to play by different rules, Nigel.
These are the kind of things that I've had to put up with over many, many years. And over the last year, it's got worse with an attack on my home, very similar to the one the Prime Minister suffered. And literally, daily...
I've never seen someone's front house more than Jeremy Corbyn. There were people camping in front of his house. The journalists were all over it, and it was genuinely disgusting. Were you calling that out, Nigel, or...?
Repeatedly over the years, I asked the Home Secretary for help. I was rejected again and again. And in that period, when I wasn't in elected politics, between 2021 and 2024...
By the way, he keeps pushing this... I'm going to call it a lie because it's not substantiated. Keeps on saying the state doesn't give me any protection. There is no evidence for that claim. Now, he has probably asked the state to give him more protection because he's a more prominent MP. He's not in government, not a minister. He's just a backbench MP. Why should he be given more than, I don't know, Zara Sultana or whatever? So he's probably given the same level of protection as anybody else. And of course, if you're a minister, if you're a big minister, one of the top jobs, and then you're prime minister, you get more money. And he's probably kicked off saying, whoa, I'm Nigel Farage. I'm really, really famous. Now, there could be a genuine question about your public profile. Maybe Nigel Farage should get more money because he's more famous, but that's not the rules at the moment. So he keeps on saying, I get no help whatsoever. He keeps on saying that he needs more security. Well, he doesn't even turn up to his Clacton offices. So he's never in Clacton anyway. So these are just bullshit claims.
And up very, very substantial bill to make sure that I was safe. When I became an MP, Parliament said, yes, we will help you with security. Almost unbelievably, just a couple of days after the murder of Charlie Kirk, 70% of that security fund was withdrawn.
Okay, prove it. Prove it. There's no proof to say that, they turned around and said, because Charlie Kirk was killed, we're now going to cut your security by 7%. I'm sorry, I'm calling fucking bullshit. Unless he proves it, that's bullshit.
I am going to need security for the rest of my life, and I cannot even tell you how grateful I am to Christopher Harborne. Now I will never, ever need to worry about whether
I bet you are.
I've got the resource.
Daddy Harborne.
Well, the new attack from the media is that somehow I am a crook. I am dishonest. Yet another reason to hate me.
I mean, that's just true.
Commentators over the weekend have said, look at the interviews Nigel's doing. He's not himself. He's getting angry. Well, here's why. For some reason last week, the editor of the Times newspaper decided to publish a picture picture of where my daughter lived. There is no public interest in my daughter whatsoever. She is not involved in current affairs, doesn't seek to be involved in current affairs, and has never been used by me once at any point in my political career. No photographs on election addresses or anything like that. I've always done my absolute best.
Yes, okay, but the media do that all the time, and I'm not saying it's right. I mean, when there was a story about Zach Plansky, they literally tried contacting his family. Like, the media can be absolute bastards, but don't act like you're the only one, that you get this treatment specifically. Again, like, this happens to a lot of prominent politicians. It happens to Zach Plants. I'm sure it happens to Jeremy Corbyn. So, again, stop acting like you are the only one that gets it. You're not.
To protect privacy and safety of my family. By publishing that photograph, the editor of the Times has directly threatened her security. I wonder what happened to the Leveson inquiry of years ago, an inquiry that sought to bring better balance between what the press could do and families of
Oh, come on. Do you reckon Farage actually gives a fuck about the Leveson inquiry?
those in public life. Worse still, she now has broadcasters haranguing her. Sky News were one of them, and when I questioned them on it, they willfully and deliberately lied and said on their channel that they hadn't contacted the family. Well, let me be clear. I will not tolerate intimidation of my family. I will not tolerate the location of where they live being revealed. I will not tolerate any of my family being endangered because of what I choose to do in public life. So yes.
I mean, are you claiming that the journalists are literally trying to endanger your family? Because they're not doing that, are they? Come on.
You can ask, am I angry? But I've never been angrier in my life. I'm also pretty upset with the behaviour of this an epic scale, albeit with the connivance of the Conservative Party. Why? Well, of course, fear of reform. I'm proud of the fact that we fought a legal action that got nearly 5 million council tax voters the right to go out on May the 7th and give their view. Now, of course, they want to reduce the voting age down to 16. Again, they think that will help damage reform. And just
Well, so you're in favour of rigging the vote because reducing the age to 16 means more people can vote. So if they don't vote for reform, that's a you problem. I've always found it funny when the right say it's rigging the vote, but it's like, no, having more people to participate in the political process is the opposite of rigging. So what Nigel's saying is, no, we want to make sure less people vote so we win. And it's true, because only pretty much the over 50s vote for reform. Like, working class people, I don't really believe that working class people vote for reform, because ultimately the divide in this country is age. It's working people versus those who live on assets and make money. That's literally what it is. So they've just taken the Tory vote and that's it. They don't represent young people whatsoever.
a couple of weeks ago, following the Makerfield by-election, they changed the voting rule for the Manchester mayoral by-election. They've gone away from first past the post, again, for fear.
But what has any of this got to do with your financial backers? What's this got to do with Christopher Harbin and George Cottrell? It has nothing to do with it. You're just whinging. You are moaning. Oh my God, life's so hard. I was given pretty much an unlimited run on the BBC. I've been given so much prominence for me and my political party. I've been given so much money and clout. Like, you are so privileged. It's unbelievable. Like, reform would not be where they were without the media, without the BBC. You say the BBC's left wing and they attack you. You would not have a political career if they didn't keep platforming you. It's insane. Like, the right wing and Farage have such a victim complex, and it is so pathetic. So pathetic.
That reform might win. And now they've come after our money. Now, to be clear, in the early days after the last general election, it was the huge increase in our membership at £25 a time that actually got us into a position where we could build a proper party.
Oh, not the £2.3 million worth of donations in, like, fossil fuel. Not that, no. Not over the over £20 million that Christopher Harbin has given to the party. Remember, it's not just about the £5 million gift that Farage got. Look at the amount of money Christopher Harbin gives to the Reform Party. I'm pretty sure it's over 20 million now. So don't try and say, oh no, we're financially good because of our members. No, it all comes from billionaires. It literally comes from billionaires.
Over the last year, some big donors have been attracted to us. Extraordinary. These
Before
are
then,
men who've gone off as entrepreneurs around the world and succeeded. The sort of people we used to admire. Now government ministers.
Are you saying that you admire foreign donors? The party that hates immigrants, but oh, you know what? Thai-based billionaire, that's fine. See, this is something I'd love to point out, is that Farage and Reform act like they're really principled on immigration. They are not. Farage hates immigrants when they're working class and poor. He absolutely loves immigrants and he loves the flow of capital when they're rich. Like, he's literally done work to try and increase the flow of capital and basically give nice visas to rich people. So he loves immigration when it's rich people. It's just that he hates poor immigrants for the same reason why he hates anyone who's not rich. Basically, just your working class. That is it. He hates the working class. He despises them, and so does Reform. He is actively doing everything he can to destroy the working class. Look at their voting record on workers' rights. They voted against all of them. And now he seems to think that he's anti-establishment.
Refer to them in Parliament as malign actors. And so they keep changing all the rules again and again just to stop reform. Frankly, it is like living in a communist country. I could never have believed such a thing would happen here.
I didn't realise we're living in a stateless, classless, moneyless society. Yeah, communism. Keir Starmer, the communist, you know, the guy that likes privatisation and the protection of capital. He's a lunatic. These people are crazy.
Ignore the fact, of course, that over decades peerages have been given to donors, and that Labour's donors, in the run-up to 2024 general election, now seem to have been awarded the most extraordinary government contract.
Sorry, but you cannot attack corruption and big money donors when you do the same thing. Like, we on this channel, we criticised Labour. We criticised the fact that they took £4 million from Quadrature Capital. The fact that billionaires started flooding the Labour Party. We called that shit out because we're consistent. Whereas Farage is saying, well, you know, Labour have received money and big donors and they've given away contracts. I'm like, bitch, you do the fucking same. And you would do the same in government. So you have nothing to say. You don't have a leg to stand on.
And we've been subject in the last few months to the use of illegally obtained information, firm evidence of computer hacking, and now leaks from government agents. And this is all, of course, a great distraction, because we're about to get a Prime Minister who's coming in with no mandate whatsoever. He didn't even stand on the 2024 manifesto. This country needs a general election, even if Labour, the Conservative and the media don't want. And whilst this pile-on against reform happens, the boats continue.
Where's your evidence that the media doesn't want a general election? Like, where is your evidence? You're trying to act like the entire corporate media is against Reform, the party that's backed by corporations. Like, you have an entire news network in GB News. There has never been the most we've never had anything like GB News before in which they've just been openly Reform network. Yes, you've got the Mirror that tends to support Labour. You've got the Telegraph that tends to support the Conservative. But there's never been any kind of broadcast media that has been so unbelievably biased. Paul Marshall is a billionaire. He gave millions of pounds to GB News. This guy obviously wants Reform to win. Like, you have such favourable conditions. The fact that you're not 40% in the polls just shows how shit you are, to be honest. Because if I had a political party, had all that money backers, potential criminal money, had an entire news network that pushes out Reform slot on a daily basis, right, I'd be ecstatic. And the fact is that you're only 27% in the polls is because ultimately people don't like your message. Yes, a lot of people are convinced by your immigration policies. Your anti-working class message, no one likes that. Your anti-taking care of the planet and green energy policies, people don't like that. People know that you are for the rich and the elites.
Our fractured defences make us look weaker and weaker against what I think is now an increasingly dangerous Vladimir Putin. Business is the lowest it's now been for 16 years.
What, your Welsh leader?
From a capital city where men can't wear watches and women can't wear jewellery on the street. Britain is broken and the public know it, and we need change. Now, the issue with my daughter was the final straw. Enough is enough. And I thought over the weekend, what shall I do? I could go out and try and make some real big money. I could go to the USA, where I've got plenty.
Well, you've already done that, right? I mean, you just made £5 million off Christopher Harbin, and you said you can spend it on whatever you want. So you've already made your big money. What are you talking about?
Of offered. And then I thought, why should I be judged today or in history in the future by Sky News and their ill? Why should they be the people that decide my fate when, as I repeat, I've done nothing wrong? I've thought about it hard, and I've decided today I will resign as a member of Parliament for Clacton-on-Sea, thereby forcing a by-election. Now, I've decided that the people of Clacton should be the judges of my action. This will be a people versus the establishment by-election. It's a chance to stick two fingers up to the entire establishment, tell them where to go. And that is why I will be putting my name forward to stand in this by-election. I will fight to win. I will fight to continue the political revolution that Reform has started. And I would say this to you, the voters of Clacton: if I win, you win. Because if I lose, they win. And we will never, with the two old parties, get the type of fundamental change that we need to fix broke Britain.
So what fundamental change are you talking about? Cooing the government in favour of your rich mates? But he's trying to say that this vote is people versus the establishment. No, it's not. You are the most establishment politician. Keir Starmer is the establishment and the Labour Party. The Conservatives are the establishment. Rupert Lowe, backed by the richest man in the world, is the establishment. And guess what? You are no different. You cannot be in the pockets of wealthy individuals and corporations and call yourself anti-establishment. It's very, very clear. Establishment is the global, financial, and political elite. Anti-establishment is the working class. It's as simple as that. We've lost class consciousness in this country, in which we've managed to allow ourselves to believe that, oh no, there's a left-wing establishment, which is that they have loads of money and they're just liberal on social issues. They just don't hate gay and trans people. That's the establishment. No, it's not. It's not, right? The establishment is those who have means versus the anti-establishment, those without. And Nigel Farage is in the mix of those who have the means. Look, I don't think Farage even wants to be Prime Minister. I don't think he wants the administrative power. I think he wants to be the power broker. You know, I reckon Richard Tice, look, if they win, I reckon Richard Tice will be doing all the work as Prime Minister. He might even step down before then. And Farage just wants to be that power broker with the corporates and the multimillionaires and billionaires. Like, our political system is geared towards corporations as it is, right? It's a fundamentally rigged system already. But Nigel Farage reform will completely coup this government and allow the corporations and billionaires to loot this country. And I fear that he has done something incredibly smart, because Farage, for everything that I despise him for and his views, he is a smart operator. Calling a by-election and standing in a by-election, he will definitely win, by the way. I mean, if you look at the numbers, I saw a recent poll that had the reform on 61%. Unfortunately, he's not going to lose, okay? He's going to win. That means he can say, I've got a mandate from the people, and no amount of tax or news stories that come out, I'm just going to ignore them. They cannot affect me because I've got the people behind me. And of course, he's only got the people of Clacton. And if you're running to be Prime Minister, well, you should have the people, you know, everyone behind you, which is quite funny because he's saying how, like, Andy Burnham is, you know, he was only voted for in Makerford, now he's going to be Prime Minister. Okay, fair criticism from people saying that, you know, he was voted as a local MP, now he could be Prime Minister. Well, it's no different for Nigel Farage, right? If he wins again in Clacton, that doesn't mean that the entire country backs him over these scandals. It just means that in that very specific area where he's popular, they back it. But ultimately, the questions will still arise. However, he can bat it away because there's probably going to be more stories. I mean, it's incredibly likely there's going to be more stories of Nigel Farage coming out that could be even worse. And he can just say, I don't care. It doesn't matter because I went to the people of Clacton, even when they knew about Harburn and Cottrell, and they still voted me. So therefore, that's my mandate and that's it. It's a very, very smart move. The best thing he could do. That is not him giving up. That is him solidifying his position. And to be honest, if I was advising him, I'd say do it, because I really don't think there's much of a risk for him. Now, I'd love him to lose, and he really needs to. I just don't see it. So this is a smart move from him, and it just feels like this fucker can't keep getting away with it. But he does.